Figuring out how today's offenses and defenses compare to those of the 1950s and 1960s isn't easy. Hello and welcome back to our channel, guys. This video will go over the NBA's worst franchises in history. All of this and more will be revealed later, but please watch the video, subscribe to the channel and turn on the new video notifications first. Number 10. 1970-71 Cleveland Cavaliers. The 1970-71 Cleveland Cavaliers are the first team in this list to fail to earn a best team title. Missing on even one of those endeavors is dangerous enough, but the Cavaliers took it a step further by becoming one of the only 5 teams in NBA history to miss on both. Occasionally, multiple squads in the same season have similar levels of putridity, but this was not the case for Cleveland in 1970-71. The Cavaliers finished last in offensive rating among the NBA's 17 teams, scoring 1.4 fewer points per 100 possessions than the second worst Buffalo Braves. In addition, Cleveland allowed 102.4 points per 100 possessions, 2.3 more than the Seattle Supersonics and the rest of the NBA. In fact, the difference between the Sonics number 16 and the Philadelphia 76ers was a 2.3 point number 10. To be honest, it's surprising that Bingo Smith, pictured above, Walt Weasley and John Johnson managed to win 15 games in 82 attempts. However, they never won 3 consecutive games and have only won back-to-back games twice. Number 9. 1998-99 Chicago Bulls. It's not easy to say goodbye to Michael Jordan. However, losing Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen complicates matters, as was the case after the Chicago Bulls defeated the Utah Jazz in the 1998 NBA Finals. Due to the absence of the two stars, the Bulls were forced to experiment with starting lineups throughout the season, though Brent Barry, Ron Harper and Tony Kukoc were the mainstays. The defense was still mostly effective, but Chicago just couldn't find the back of the net. These Bulls had the third worst offense in the NBA history, trailing only the 2002-2003 Denver Nuggets and the early 1987-88 Los Angeles Clippers. During the 1998-99 season, no team struggled more than its shots than the Bulls, who made it matters worse by turning the ball over frequently, failing to crash the offensive boards and rarely getting to the charity stripe. Kukoc and Dickie Simpkins came close, but no one on the roster earned 3 win shares during the lockout-shortened season. Number 8. 1988-89 Miami Heat. Another team with one of the worst offenses in NBA history. The 1988-89 Miami Heat, like the 1998-99 Chicago Bulls, has a convenient excuse for their failure. The Heat were starting from scratch while the Bulls had lost Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. 10 players on the roster were rookies, and while players like Ronnie, Cy Kelly, and Grant Long would go on to have success in the NBA, they were outmatched in their first few seasons. Rory Sparrow and Pat Cummins were the team's veteran leaders, which wasn't exactly a recipe for success. The Heat's losing streak has since been surpassed by the 2009-10 New Jersey Nets, but the Heat will always be remembered for their disastrous start to their NBA career. Number 7. 1996-97 Vancouver Grizzlies. The Vancouver-Memphis Grizzlies are the only NBA franchise to have 2 of the league's worst 10 teams. While the 1995-96 Grizzlies, an expansion team, finished 10th, the following iteration was even worse. Bryant Reeves, who was drafted a year prior with the intention of making him the face of the franchise, needed help in the front court, with which Sharif Abdurrahim provided. In 1996-97, he had a fairly successful rookie season, averaging 18.7 points and 6.9 rebounds per game. It simply wasn't enough. The 2 aforementioned young guns, along with Greg Anthony, who was 29 at that time, were the only 3 players on the Vancouver roster who earned more than 2 win shares. Blue Edwards, Rich Manning, Eric Lechner, Mookie Norris, Lawrence Monson, and Eric Mobley all finished under 0. That is obviously a combination that most teams would prefer to avoid. The Grizzlies didn't, and as a result, they frequently avoided winning. Number 6. 1972-73 Philadelphia 76ers. The Philadelphia 76ers were a fast-paced offense that averaged 115.2 possessions per 48 minutes. During the 1972-73 season, the Houston Rockets played at the same pace as every other team in the 17-team NBA. However, the Sixers did not fare well as a result. It gave their opponents more opportunities to exploit a porous defense, one that struggled to keep the other team from burying one shot after another, and it's not likely they were making the most of their extra offensive possessions. Number 5. 1982-83 Houston Rockets. The 1982-83 Houston Rockets were not even ranked in the top half of the league in any of the 4 offensive or defensive factors. The closest they got was in turnover percentage, where only a dozen of the league's 23 teams performed better. The opponent turnover percentage 15th, free throws allowed per field goal attempt 17th, and both effective field goal percentage allowed and defensive rebounding percentage 18th are next. Notice how 4 of those 5 aspects are defensive. During the 1982-83 season, the Rockets' offense led by Alan Leville and James Bailey was simply atrocious. 6 players scored in double figures on average, but Leville was the team's leading point producer despite averaging only 14.8 points per game. Leeville also had the most win shares, 3.8. which was not particularly impressive on a league-wide scale. Furthermore, Terry Teagle -0.8 and Jeff Taylor -0.2 did their best to offset his positive contributions with their own negative ones, particularly on the offensive end of the floor. Number 4, 1999-2000 Los Angeles Clippers. The 1999-2000 Los Angeles Clippers made a lot of moves during the offseason while preparing for their first trip to the Staples Center, still trying to get Michael Olowokandi a chance now that he was in the second year of NBA action. The team essentially swapped Rodney Rogers, Sherman Douglas, and Lamont Murray for Derek Anderson, Eric Mudrock, and Lamar Odom via free agency, the draft, and a pair of trades. The Clippers struggled to 15 wins despite having the league's worst defensive rating and second worst offensive rating, only winning 3 consecutive games once all season. Meanwhile, they managed to go on losing streaks of 9, 10, 13, and 17 games. Number 3, 1997-98 Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets have had a lot of porous defensive teams over the years, and while the 1997-98 Nuggets had a terrible time too, it was only the second worst in the franchise's history. However, the 1998-99 Nuggets, despite having the worst defense in the NBA history, had an above-average defense thanks Mike D'Antoni. These Nuggets, however, did not. Denver won only 11 games under Bill Hanslick's leadership, struggling as a handful of relatively unremarkable players tried to lead the team. Number 2, 1992-93 Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks had 2 separate 2-game winning streaks in 1992-93, but they also went double-digit games without winning even once during the season. There was a 12-game losing streak in late November and early December, a 15-game skid around New Year's Eve, and a 19-game losing streak that lasted until mid-March. Dallas was still reeling from Roy Tarpley's lifetime ban for violating the league's substance abuse policy for the 3rd time, and Fat Liver's season was ruined by knee surgery. Furthermore, Rolando Blackman was traded to the New York Knicks for a draft pick, leaving the Mavericks looking for new franchise faces. Dallas finished last in both offensive and defensive ratings among the NBA's 27 teams. The offense was so bad that despite playing at the 6th fastest pace in the league, the Mavericks scored more points per game than only the Minnesota Timberwolves, who've played at the 3rd slowest pace in the league. Number 1, 2011-12 Charlotte Bobcats. Could it possibly be someone else? The Charlotte Bobcats were the league's punching bag during the lockout-shortened 2011-12 season. Kemba Walker was a promising rookie out of Connecticut, but this was a team that relied heavily on DJ Augustin, Bismack Biyombo, Gerald Henderson. The Bobcats started the season on a high note, defeating the Milwaukee Bucks by 1 point thanks to a layup by Augustin with 36 seconds remaining, and then some nice work at the charity stripe that extended the lead. Even if they tried their hardest, the Bobcats will be remembered as the worst team in the NBA history. Please leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and enable all new video notifications. Bye until then.